Are you ready for some football? Sega's promising football so great, it's even in the title. This is Sega Masters. Yes, it's another of Sega's great sports titles, the fourth in the series to be exact. After spotlighting tennis, hockey, and baseball, Sega's next sports cart covers the other national pastime, football. And that's North American football, not the world's football that we in the States often refer to as soccer. With football being the popular athletic contest it is in this country, any gamer knows a good football cartridge is a must for any console success. Genesis gamers in particular may recall how the original John Madden football was a top seller for their console in its pre-Sonic days. Back in 1987, the only 8-bit football card around was Nintendo and Irem's 10-Yard Fight, a launch title for the NES which was about as bare bones of a pigskin experience as can be. With Tecmo Bowl still 2 years away, this was the only football action Nintendo gamers really had until then. Naturally, Sega saw the chance to outclass Nintendo's poultry cart with their own pigskin offering, which would mark the beginning of their long tenure in video football. One that would begin with great football, go through the 16-bit years with the Joe Montana series, evolve into the NFL 2K series for the Dreamcast on, and eventually conclude with the much-beloved ESPN NFL 2K5. But back to the game that started it off. This snazzy intro certainly promises a superior gridiron clash to 10-Yard Fight, and we are coming off the surprisingly decent Great Baseball, which gave some hope for the sports series. But sadly, some head-scratching decisions in this offering pretty much sack any of the goodwill the previous cart built up. You can choose from 12 teams separated into 2 conferences, though how Sega got away with using the NFL's NFC and AFC logos is anyone's guess. It doesn't really matter, as in true 1980s fashion, the 12 teams are all fictional squads sporting pretty dopey names and no noticeable differences between them other than uniform color. Once the teams are chosen, it's time to kick off. This game is standard football as you'd expect. March down the traditional horizontally scrolling field, throw some passes, run some plays, score touchdowns, play defense, repeat through 4 15-minute quarters, at least in the 2-player mode. Between snaps, you get this playbook screen, and the game cycles through the 9 available formations: 4 running, 4 passing, or the kicking formation for punts or field goals. You hit the button once your desired play is highlighted, then you run said play before going back to the playbook for the next down. Incidentally, don't expect any frills or cutscenes found in other games like Tecmo Bowl. You only get a boring stat screen after every play. But right from the start, you can tell great football isn't Super Bowl material. The game tries to unfold at a smooth pace, but the playbook screen constantly disrupts the flow. You have to wait until it finishes highlighting each and every choice before returning to action, even if you select one of the first few formations. Plus, the cart doesn't actually indicate your choice has been registered, though you can use this to bluff your opponent. The controls feel a bit sluggish and aren't very intuitive. Passing is harder than it should be since you can't select your receivers or even aim your throw properly. You have to hold the D-pad in a certain direction to chuck the ball, and all you can do is hope one of your receivers is close enough to snag it. Also, your quarterback lacks the ability to scramble. He just freezes in place before you attempt your pass, leaving you vulnerable to an alarming amount of sacks or even interceptions. You'll mainly be relying on running plays to gain any significant yardage. Should you reach the end zone for a touchdown, your ball carrier suddenly stops dead at the goal line for whatever reason. Then you get your option of converting an extra point with a kick, or using a run or a pass instead. Don't be fooled though, you only get 1 point for successful PAT no matter how you do it. There are no 2-point conversions. Kicking has the same issues as the passing game though, so good luck trying to get the ball through the goalposts. Then you kick off the player 2's team for their offensive possession, while you take your turn on defense. The graphics are mostly decent as the oversized field looks crisp and the players are easy to make out, though quite a bit of flicker constantly pops up. Some okay background tunes play during the various parts of the gameplay, but don't really do much to add to the atmosphere. Your ears are also treated with some iffy sound effects, a few scratchy voice samples, and really bad noise you hear at the conclusion of every play that's supposed to beat the crowd cheering. So overall, the 2-player mode is rather blah, but not the worst thing. That said, we'll now shift our focus to the solo mode against the CPU. Things seemingly start off like normal as you run the kickoff back, then... Fourth quarter? Trailing 31-0? I assure you I did not edit out the first 3 quarters. The game zaps you right to the beginning of the fourth quarter and spots the CPU team a random number of points, then leaves it to you to overcome the deficit before the clock runs out. That's right, the first 3 quarters are skipped entirely with no rhyme or reason. Anyway, you're probably wondering how you'll lead multiple scoring drives within a single quarter. That question gets answered after you notch your first score. Following your touchdown and conversion attempt, the CPU kicks off to you again. Believe it or not, you play the entire game on offense and the CPU team never gets a possession. Getting only 1 quarter of action is bad enough, but denying you a chance at playing defense takes much of the thrill and strategy of actual football away, since you don't have to worry about getting the ball back or preventing the other team from scoring. You can't even turn the ball over to the other side. If you throw an interception or fail to convert a 4th down, you're just pushed back a few yards before your current drive continues with a fresh set of downs. Then again, the computer AI is not very smart to begin with, so winning the contest isn't really much of a challenge. You can usually call the same 2 or 3 running plays to outmaneuver the opposing defense, though they sometimes show alarming bursts of speed to nail you for losses. Finally, you get no real reward for your effort to grind out the victory. Once the time expires, whether you win or lose, you're given the same screen showing some quick stats before being booted back to the title screen. No season mode or a playoff system is offered, not that you'd want to keep playing this card any longer than necessary. Overall, it goes without saying there's nothing great about great football, as the programmers didn't seem to have a clue how to do a proper football game. The 2-player mode alone would have merely made this an unremarkable pigskin cart, but the single-player mode only granting you an unsatisfying fraction of the gridiron experience knocks it down to a terrible excuse for a sports cart. There's even less reason to fire this clunker up with the far superior Tecmo Super Bowl available for your 8-bit ballin'. Sega would eventually learn how to produce quality football games for their future consoles, but great football is pretty much another sports dud for the Master System. And the real sad thing is this somehow wouldn't be the last time we see this game, but we'll touch on that in a few episodes.